All right, we are live back again. Me and my guy Rue Black from Rue Black Investing, Blackrue Investing on X. What's happening, buddy? How you doing today, man?
Hey, chilling. Another sunny day in Scottsdale. I can't complain. How about you, brother?
Oh, it's been a. I just got home from the gym, so I can't complain. Nobody listens, my friend. So, so we have a reaction stream here. We're going to do to the recent ZEBEC Spaces. So we're going to dive into that. Now, I don't know how much you've listened to. I haven't listened to any of it because I wanted to give an organic kind of a reaction to everything. So I'm excited about this. I don't even know how long it is, to be honest with you. So yeah, let's kick this into high gear. How much did you listen to?
I kind of like browsed it. I just skimmed it just to see, kind of where it starts because sometimes it takes them a long time to start. But other
Yeah.
than that, I didn't really pay attention. So I'm going to be excited to see him really break it down with a fine tooth comb what Simon got into today.
Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah. Me too, man. So why don't we just go ahead and let's kick this party off, man. So you're going to be in control of the spaces. So if you want to, do you want to share your screen?
Yep, I'll share my screen here. And we'll go straight into it here.
Everybody, and welcome to another ZEBEC community space. As Simon says, my name is Ben White, and I am joined by Simon, CEO at ZEBEC. Look, we've held a number of these conversations in recent months, but today's discussion, I think, feels particularly important because both ZEBEC and the wider crypto industry are now, I wrote here, like entering a new phase, but actually like we are right into a new phase now. And that is that the market is increasingly moving beyond narratives built purely around, blockchain infrastructure. There are now thousands of networks competing for users, developers, and liquidity. And relatively few have found like consistent product market fit or built meaningful, sustainable revenue. One recent analysis that I was looking at suggested that blockchain networks have collectively raised more than $7.5 billion whilst generating comparatively little daily revenue. And I think those things, like, we need to really lock in on that context, because whatever your view or take on the exact numbers around that, the broader point is difficult to ignore, which is that a blockchain network is no longer enough. Companies need products, they need customers, they need distribution, and they need reoccurring revenue. And I guess most importantly, to get all of those things, they need to solve real problems. And
Can we
that
pause it there for a sec? Yeah, very, 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 very good points. And I know that you and I both talk about this. I know Scott talks about this a lot. But we're moving into a time right now where a lot of these crypto projects that are actually generating revenue, they're being used, they're producing right now, are starting to take the lead, and a lot of other stuff is starting to kind of, fall behind. So we're starting to see degrees of separation when it comes to that. Companies that are, producing revenue, for example, especially in a bear market, it's a very, very important thing for people to be paying attention to, right? What companies are profitable and generating revenue, and which ones are not?
I definitely agree, brother. Like Zebec with what they do with the cards, the card swipes, the real-time payroll, it's definitely generating revenue right now. Not today, not maybe, right now. And a lot of the projects we talk about on my channel, I'm sure on your channel as well, like the Nears of the world, the Zebecs of the world, right, are generating revenue right now. There's another one I had in my head that just flew straight out of my head. But specifically Near and Zebec are generating revenue right now, right? And you can see that from those projects. Those are the projects that are going to win. Hyperliquid is another one, right? Let's continue.
starting point for today's conversation, because ZEBEC has spent the past several years now evolving from a crypto streaming payments protocol into much broader financial infrastructure business. And with that has come lots of compliance, lots of, different things that they've needed to kind of bolt on and consider. And I think what I'd like to do today, Simon, is talk about that evolution and the latest development across ZEBEC's products and the future role of the ZBCN token, which obviously is kind of like critical, integral to all of this. So we've received a number of great questions from the community as well, and we'll address as many of them as we can today. The purpose of today's space is, not to avoid difficult questions, but it's to give Simon the opportunity to answer things directly and provide context and explain where ZEBEC is heading next. So Simon, hi, anything you want to add to that before I kind of jump in with the questions?
These are all great topics, Ben, so excited to get into it.
Great. Okay, well, let's begin then with the wider market, because, expectations placed on crypto companies.
I just wanted to say that it's for me, it's amazing how they, after the last spaces, they started getting attacked, with FUD and all these people who are spreading misinformation, for them to immediately bounce back with the spaces, not a spaces where they just talk at us, but a spaces where they are actually answering community questions immediately after. Wow, that is a great counterpunch to the FUD.
It really is. And from what I remember from listening to the whole thing, like they even get even deeper into it. They're not ducking anything. They're hitting this straight on, right? And again, everything that we know about the project hasn't changed. And yeah, all of that. Yeah, let's continue here.
Are changing considerably, right? During previous market cycles, a project could raise capital, launch a blockchain, issue a token, attract loads of attention. And today, like, the market is increasingly asking much harder questions around that, right? Revenue, customer, product adoption, sustainability. So my first question to you is, to succeed in this era of crypto, is it still enough to be a blockchain network, or do companies need now to build much broader businesses around that infrastructure?
It's a great question, Ben, and I think we all know to succeed in today's market as a blockchain company, you need to do much more than just have a network and a token. You need to have a product with real market fit. You need to be able to adapt to the needs of your customers and where the market is generally heading. You need to have top-tier compliance to serve the current wave of companies that are now testing out blockchain solutions and using stablecoins for the first time. And the vast majority of projects and businesses in this space, they don't have all of these elements. And that's why so many of them fail between cycles. Now, what we've built at ZEBEC is different, as we've grown through the ups and downs of the market, and we've stayed laser focused on our long-term vision of making payroll real-time and available to anyone on chain. So our product ecosystem has grown around this vision. And today we have hundreds of customers, we have thousands of users that are using ZEBEC products on a daily basis.
Now, that's one thing that also we'll talk about, guys. The compliances and things that they have built in. A lot of companies are going to fail because they don't have these compliances, specifically like, MiCA, ISO 2002. I know that's not necessarily a compliance, but when you team that with MiCA and things like that, an ability to use stable coins, I think a lot of companies are going to fall flat on their face because doing it the old way is not going to work at some point in time.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think it's ironic that people call it a scam that bought a compliance company so that they can legally operate in every single jurisdiction. It's weird, isn't it?
It very much is. But like where things are headed with the stable coins, guys, and I'm going to tell you guys this again, like whatever company draws the most value out of stable coins or has the infrastructure for stable coins, this is the company that's going to win. And ZEBEC has that, right? They're bringing revenue from the stable coins with the fees and into the ZBCN token. And that cannot be understated. Companies like Near, they're doing the whole agentic AI and being a settlement layer for that. Like, there's so much to like about the future here. But let's continue on here.
Awesome. And I agree. And I'm really pleased that you kind of answered that way, because I think it now opens itself up to the questions that I've kind of built around the back of this. So let me go on with another one then immediately, which is that crypto, and I said this at the top of the show there, is absolutely entering this new institutional era, right? We're waiting for lots of governments to really come forward and give us clarity, and that's no pun intended. We've seen reports suggesting that blockchain networks have collectively raised billions of dollars, as I said. Many continue to generate very little daily revenue. So, like, how do companies adapt as larger businesses, and like as governments and regulated financial organizations get more involved, how can they really start to develop and find these product market fits?
Well, I think it's finally time that we speak about this sort of topic, to be honest. I mean, it took us a few years at ZEBEC to find true product market fit. In the prior era of crypto, payroll and stablecoin was something only interesting to Web3 companies and not to mainstream businesses. But post the Genius Act about a year ago, the nature of demand has changed dramatically, and we've seen a large influx in interest from corporate clients. And as a result, we've upgraded our products accordingly to better serve them. Now, most importantly for ZEBEC, we've always been revenue generating, and our revenues scale with the growth of our products and our network. We're not just offering a transaction layer with ZEBEC, but a full suite of value-added services that include payroll automation, card issuance, a mobile application, which allows the company to earn more revenue streams than just a transaction fee on the network. And I think that's an extremely important distinction.
Okay, so right there, guys. What they keep stressing is institutional. This is corporate. This is a new world in which, with clarity, whenever it comes, right? And I don't know if you guys are up to date on that or if you've done a show on that yet, Rob, but I know Cynthia Lummis, she said, hey, we're willing to meet over the break. Like, so the deadline isn't just the 7th. She said, well, we might have to meet, during the vacation time to actually get this done. So it seems as if they're committed to getting it done.
Yeah, she's hopeful that they'll work through the weekend, I believe is what she said.
Exactly.
And I mean, but I got to be honest with you. You do it to me all the time. I'm going to play the devil's advocate here, man. And I'm going to say, nah, bro. I'm going to say, nah. You're not convincing a lot of these congressmen and women to work on their off time. It's just, they just don't care. And at the end of the day, we're watching Elizabeth Warren. Just today, she did another address the media. They were asking her questions. I have some of the clips saved up there that she was talking again. She said, look, at the end of the day, according to her, the main problem still hasn't been solved. They're not going to stop until Trump is not able to make a single dollar off crypto. They're more concerned with stopping him from making money than they are about legal clarity in the United States. I just don't think it's going to happen.
And you know what? That's really fair. That's really fair. At this point, I heard that Russia of all people, has passed their clarity, and now Russia is ahead of us, right? Shout out to my Russians out there. No disrespect to your country, but man, come on. You know how I like the astrology a little bit, right? Coming up is the lunar or solar eclipse. It'd be kind of interesting if they work over the weekend and they get this thing passed really close to a solar eclipse. That would be interesting if they get that done. I think I famously kind of stood 10 toes down on that on one of the game shows on CoinVault. Definitely go check out our CoinVault game shows, guys. They're so much fun. It's so much of a new spin on dealing with crypto and talking about crypto topics in a way that's very, very fun and entertaining. And the guys have one tonight at what time, Rob?
8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern.
Okay. Yep. So definitely check that out, guys. But yeah, so I'm holding out hope that we can get it passed. But the way that they talk about it and the way that different people have been talking about it, you know, Simon, the way he's talking about it there. Shout out to Invest with Doc. I was on his show yesterday. Definitely go over there and check it out, guys. Talking about near, and I played a clip from Charles Hoskinson. He was basically talking about it like it's already passed. You know what I mean? Like they all talk about it like it's already passed. So whenever it gets passed, it seems like it's a certainty. But the big question is not if, but when. So let's continue on here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so important. And would you mind giving me like then a little bit more context about, I mean, I've been around now for a little while with you guys, but you know, more broadly, how has ZEBEC adapted its own business model over the years to ensure that it can continue to grow and scale?
Well, I think it's time for a little bit of a history lesson here, as the evolution of our product suite and our business model closely tracks the evolution of the industry as a whole, as well as some of the key trends around adoption in crypto. So if we go back 5 years, you know, we really started as a retail-focused streaming solution on Solana. We were serving Web3 projects and peer-to-peer streams, primarily done in stablecoins and other tokens. Then our first killer product was the ZEBEC Instant Card. At that time, we were really one of the world's first instant crypto card products, which was actually meant as a way to add utility to our streaming offering, but ended up being a product on its own. We since then brought the card to over 100 white label partners. We've scaled it globally across different regions, and we now support over 20 blockchains on those cards. From there, the next evolution was the introduction of a consumer interface that brings the best of a fintech app to a blockchain experience through the ZEBEC Super app. First, it was available on desktop, and more recently as a widely popular mobile application on iOS and Android. Then, of course, in this year, 2026, our focus has been on making blockchain solutions accessible to enterprise clients, which have, of course, a completely different set of needs and requirements to the retail users or the small businesses that we were working with in the past.
So Simon just took your hand and walked you through 3 of ZEBEC's most important verticals, with the cart, with Super app, in which the Super app can be the whole conduit to everything, and then with the enterprise, right? Opening up for enterprise for institutions to do payroll.
With the launch of our enterprise payroll solution on Stellar and Solana, we've successfully exported ZEBEC's core streaming technology to a corporate audience with the same capabilities that many of the large payroll and HR software solutions have, while still running entirely on blockchain rails, which we're super proud of. Now, this evolution marks our ability to adapt and grow with the market, and also to our team's commitment to building products that actually bring real-world usage and revenue with it. So this is really the ethos of our company and how we're going to continue to operate in the future as we bring more products to market.
I love that, and I love the reminder there of that. You really were like right at the front when it came to being able, like the cards, right, that you could make payments with via crypto. That was how you and I met, and such a but the space moves so quickly. Like, what was that? Maybe 18 months ago, and like now, look at where we are and like what we're pointed towards. It's really, really exciting.
Exactly. You have to be very fast and adaptable in crypto, and you know, if a product's not working out, you have to figure out how to pivot it or how to move in the direction that the market is going, which we've done time after time in ZEBEC.
100%. That evolution, I guess what you would call it, right? It's important because ZEBEC now is no longer dependent on one product, one blockchain, one type of customer, and that's like a real trap that some businesses can get caught in, I suppose. It's becoming a broader financial infrastructure company. That's what ZEBEC is now like really like locking in on, with like several products that all support one another. I was obviously part of that testing team of the Super app too, and so to see them all kind of like starting to congregate together, it's really, really exciting stuff. And I guess great opportunity to talk about latest product developments, right? Last week you tease some news around the remittance product that's now available within ZEBEC Enterprise. That's different side to kind of like the more, client side piece of work that you guys have got. Like, what is that announcement, and why is it important? Why is it an important addition to the platform?
Well, this is definitely one of the most exciting new features that we brought to market on the payroll side this year. And it's the first time ever that a stablecoin payroll solution is directly tied to a remittance off-ramp. So last week, we went live with MoneyGram in the enterprise payroll application on Stellar, and we've seen our first 100 or so users off-ramp part of their stablecoin payroll on Stellar to a local MoneyGram outlet for cash in hand. It takes seconds to do this, and we've now converted your real-time payroll funds into a local currency in, I think, over 50 different countries. So tell me.
So that's huge. That's huge right there. That's another vertical, the remittance vertical, which is now out first for enterprises, MoneyGram, where they can, take their payroll and then off ramp via MoneyGram into fiat. Any thoughts on that one, Rob?
Well, I'm sitting here thinking while he's talking, like, again, another monstrous partnership and being able to be utilized with MoneyGram. Scam, really? That's all that goes through my head when I hear this is like, at what point when you're accusing them of stuff like that, do you look at it and go, I sound stupid right now? Right?
And you got to realize like how big MoneyGram is. They're publicly traded on the U.S. stock market. Them and Stellar, the relationship's pretty deep with them. MoneyGram owns a little piece. If you like dig deep into it, MoneyGram owns a little piece of Stellar. Stellar owns a little piece of MoneyGram.
Well, here's the thing of it is that you've got people with no official documents saying things, and they legitimately believe that they do more research than a company like MoneyGram does. Like, do you really feel that you do more research than like MasterCard or MoneyGram or Ripple?
It sounds absurd.
But you know better, right?
Sounds absurd. But this is like MoneyGram's really, really a testament to what they do, testaments to the licenses they have, the compliances they have. Like someone like MoneyGram would never, ever be aboard, offering remittances on one of their platforms if ZEBEC wasn't the real deal.
Nor would they get legal, regulated compliance, thumbs up in any of these jurisdictions like the EU, the US, so on and so forth.
Right. So not only are you asking them to do this in the US, but in other areas where there could be, there's international implications, there's MiCA implications. Like, come on. You know what I mean? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Well, let's continue.
Which real world payroll solution is able to do that? I don't know of any. And that's really what gives us our edge here, is that it's so much more than just receiving your payroll in stablecoin. It's all the ancillary products that are around it. And our enterprise clients with large contractors or contractor bases in the developing world particularly are super excited for this new feature, as it's something that we'll be announcing later on with MoneyGram and Stellar directly. And it's also going to be coming to the ZEBEC Super app for retail users as well, to off-ramp their funds for cash in brick and mortar locations around the world.
Incredible. I love the fact too that you're bringing all of this new tech, this new infrastructure to existing names like MoneyGram, like that's been around forever, and helping them kind of like almost reinvent themselves too. It's really, really exciting stuff. The community also saw a new wallet drop with Stellar and Tangem. So I was a little bit offline last week. So what can you tell us there?
Well, this is something that we've been working on with Stellar for a while now, and it's much more than just another hardware wallet. We'll be using these branded ZEBEC Stellar card wallets as an onboarding tool for enterprise users. It's going to be a user-friendly and secure way to store your crypto and stablecoin payroll funds in a sleek card wallet. It's an alternative to Stripe's Privy Wallet, which of course is already embedded within the app as an easy wallet option. But this gives employees and contractors a tangible, real-world card that they can use to store and spend their funds. So we're going to have limited release available for sale for our community as well. So stay tuned for that. And we also have another very exciting football campaign starting this fall to celebrate the release of our payroll and super app on an international scale. So stay tuned for an exciting announcement on that.
So really cool there, really cool with the Tangem Stellar thing, which I think people really kind of slept on that. And like, you don't know how so important it is for old schoolers to have something tangible in their hand, right? Like they don't like tap. They don't want, Apple or Google Pay to be in control of their funds. They want something in their hand that they can use that's tangible.
Yeah, and just a quick shout out as well to the fact that they're deepening their roots in the EU with a new football promotion coming out that he mentioned. That's really, really big as well. So
it really is. Marketing, like one of the things he said, shout out to Simon, in the interview that he gave me, shout out to him for that. He said, they don't really need to market crazy, what I mean? Because they have the institutions that they're going to market with, right? But yet and still they do have marketing with the NHL, the NBA, and here we go now internationally with maybe the other football, not the real American football, but
FIFA.
the football. Okay, all right. So let's continue on here.
I love that. Anyone who's been following me knows that I'm a bit of a football nut. So combining two of my favorite things here, it's excellent news. Thanks for updating me on that. Right. Looking beyond those products that have already launched, what are the biggest product unlocks that you expect over the next few months, Simon?
Well, the first half of the year has been packed with new product launches, with the desktop and mobile super app coming out, the enterprise payroll solution as well. Now, the second half of the year is all going to be about upgrading these products with new features, rolling them out on more blockchain networks, and launching white label solutions with some more of our key partners as well. Now, corporate cards are coming to enterprise payroll. That's something I'm super excited about. ZEBEC Black is also coming back by invitation to our top spending card users. And as we mentioned before, remittance and cash off-ramps are coming to the retail super app too. Now, all of these features are going to require ZBCN balances to unlock and use, of course.
Utility.
Ace. Right.
Right. And you said it there, utility, right? All of these things are going to require ZBCN, the fees, right? So
well, that squashes one of the FUD things that goes around about ZEBEC right there. They say, well, you don't need ZEBEC, it doesn't do anything, which is the common thread on any cryptocurrency people FUD. They say, you don't need the token. Well, Simon just spelled it out for everyone in plain English. Yes, you do, in fact, require to hold ZBCN.
Man, and just think, guys, once clarity, because I really truly believe that a lot of places around the world are waiting for us to figure it out. And once we figure it out as far as clarity is concerned, and a lot of people get access to the biggest liquidity pool around, which is the American stock market, oh man, things are really going to get popping out here, right? Let's continue.
I'm writing all of this down, so sorry, I was a little bit behind there, but there's so much new stuff coming through, Simon. Corporate cards, that was one of the ones I wanted to touch on. It's something that I was really interesting from last time. Obviously, you're now focusing heavily on the enterprise model. That's a great way to generate revenue for ZEBEC. Corporate cards needs to be a part of that, right? If you're managing a department and a budget, etc., you need to be able to access that money in kind of more, well, more ways that you need to be able to spend money. And so a corporate card is an absolutely obvious addition. Can you explain where you're up with that, what the corporate card product now unlocks, what will it offer, what needs to happen before it's fully unlocked and ready to go?
Well, corporate cards have been requested by many of our enterprise clients and card partners. We've listened to our customers, and we're soon going to be launching a stablecoin native corporate spending solution powered by MasterCard. This product closes the loop on enterprise on-chain spending. It brings together your payroll, your treasury management, your employee expenses, all in a single application, the ZEBEC Enterprise Dashboard. Now think about it, as corporate treasuries are moving more and more on-chain, and stablecoin payroll is growing in adoption, which we see every week here at ZEBEC. Needing to actually off-ramp funds to manage your company expenses across all these different solutions doesn't make sense for a corporate treasurer or CFO. So what we're now building at ZEBEC brings everything under a single roof, and it makes the stablecoin treasury so much more powerful than a traditional corporate bank account. And for us, that is really the key wedge to get further adoption into our products. Now, the fees on the corporate card product will convert into ZBCN for buybacks, and you're going to need a balance of ZBCN to use these cards at launch. So stay tuned for more information on that as we roll out the product with a couple of our select launch partners, which will be revealed in the coming weeks. You can expect the products to be live for our enterprise users in the next 1 to 2 months.
Huge.
More announcements in the next few weeks.
Yes, indeed. More announcements in the next few weeks. Like one of those, I think, might be NTT Data. I know ZEBEC recently followed them. NTT Data is also an investor in Securitize, and we've been well over Securitize's connections to ZBCN and on the Coin Vault, right? And Tether and things like that. So wouldn't be surprised if NTT Data, a large IT company, might be one of those companies. But you can see there too, they have to, it seems that they have to have some kind of pre-purchased ZBCN to have everything work as far as the corporate is concerned, right? So that's bringing in more value to the token. And again, Simon brings up the Treasury flywheel, where it seems like these treasuries are going to be using stable coins, and all of that's going to kind of, flywheel out into payroll, into card usage, into possibly investing, like we talked about the American stock market and things like that. Once stocks get tokenized and ran via agentic AI. So big things there, big things there.
Shout out to Jetpack too in the chat there. He also mentioned, he says exchange listings. Yes, Simon did also mention that there would be multiple more exchange listings coming before the end of 2026. About a month and a half ago, he said that. So yes, that we still have that in the back pocket to look forward to as well.
Indeed.
I love that. That is such a great way to get the ZBCN community really paying attention and excited to what is an enterprise product, right? Is that something that you guys have intentionally sought to do to kind of bring the community into the narrative there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not just for the corporate users here, but it's also for the everyday users who are receiving payroll in these companies.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yes. Great. Thank you, Simon. Now, I just want to touch back on Stellar. Sorry, I'm just reverting to one of my previous questions here. You previously described Stellar as the first major product expansion. And you also indicated that products involving other major blockchain networks would follow this year. So what's the latest regarding Ripple? That's the big one that I know a lot of people are looking at, and also other potential network integrations.
Well, we've been very focused this year on delivering the Stellar product to the highest standard and onboarding a number of very big enterprise names to that product. So now that we've proven that the model works and we're ready to expand into other blockchain networks, we're soon going to be going to market with Ripple on our RLUSD stablecoin payroll application, which we've touched on now in the past. We're finalizing legal terms with the company right now, and it's taken us a little bit longer than expected, which is why we haven't been able to unveil the full details on it. But it is coming very soon, and we'll be sharing it with our community and our clients. Now, separately.
Okay, so just note there, he says it's coming with Ripple, more deeper retail or more deeper things with Ripple, but they just had to finalize some things via legal.
we're working on launching payroll products with 2 to 3 other major blockchain networks this year. So I'd say safe to say we're going to have a very big push into Q4. And by the end of the year, we'll see ZEBEC Enterprise on at least hopefully half a dozen different blockchain networks.
Okay, so they mentioned other blockchain networks. We know Stellar, we know Ripple. Maybe there's some more in like ADI chain. Remember, shout out to we covered this in the show that I did with Doc on my channel, where Simon talked about ADI and how ZEBEC is partnered with ADI. So perhaps ADI, and they get more heavily into the MENA region, maybe something like a Kaya, where they're over in Japan. Of course, Ripple's also in Japan, but be interesting to see who those 2 other networks are. But let's continue on here.
That is a huge amount of work. And also, by the way, like the Ripple kind of announcement there that you've given in terms of like the announcement is nearly ready, but all of the legal work that goes on behind that, it is not lost on me, Simon, just how much
You
work
understand
goes
how
to.
you're dealing with, very large companies.
Dude, I know. Like,
right?
it must be an awful lot of work to that end.
The legal teams have been very busy.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Okay, well, look, this is really, really good progress. I guess what we're seeing here is a much broader ecosystem now really starting to take shape. And as ZEBEC's products and revenues expand, the community understandably wants to know how that activity connects back to ZBCN. And I think you've touched on that a couple of times here in your answers here. But, that I guess that takes us into the final and probably most detailed part of today's conversation that I wanted to cover. Before we begin, it's worth acknowledging that this is where many of the strongest community questions have been focused, and there have been questions about the buyback program, how tokens are held, how they may be eventually used, the role of burning, and the extent to which the community can participate in future discussions. So I'm really excited to work through those points directly, Simon. So the first one of these questions is, how has the ZBCN buyback program evolved since it was first introduced?
Well, the ZBCN buyback program in its current form was launched about 2 years ago, and it started as a clear mechanism to tie the revenue of our growing card program to the ZEBEC token. Since then, we've expanded the program to include net revenues across ZEBEC cards, the super app, and ZEBEC payroll. Now, it's very important to remember that all of our products are not in the same phase of their growth. The cards have been in the market now for over 2 years. They've been earning consistent and healthy fees. The super app and the enterprise payroll are relatively new launches. And of course, our immediate priority as a young company is to grow users and market share for these products. So with time, more fees will be added to these products and buyback volume will grow further from them. But at this point in time, it's incredibly important for ZEBEC to own the market, as we're in the very early stages right now for stablecoin adoption. So I think it's very important to consider really the differences between our products and the level of fees that we can apply to those products.
So again, multiple products, multiple fees, and he's saying consider right now as we get more users, right? That's when you get more fees. That's when you get more revenue into the token. And of course, regulation is going to affect that, right?
Yeah. So the decentralized aspect of it is going to continue to snowball as we go. So for those of you who are long-term holders, that is definitely massively encouraging.
Indeed. So, and I think that's one of the things that people are kind of sleeping on, is that we haven't even, like, people understand it, but I don't think people understand, get it, or are thinking about it. Without the clarity and Genius fully in operation, right, the amount of people that they can reach are limited. But once that gets kicked into gear, oh man, then we got something. Then we might see exponential growth from a lot of these coins, right, and what they can do, and the revenue flowing into them. So let's continue on here.
There's a reason. Sorry, there's a reason that the Fudsters are undoxed accounts and stuff like that, because I wouldn't be surprised if they were accumulating Zebec at the lows, right? Driving prices down, accumulating, and then what they do is they delete their undoxed accounts, and then they just start a different account under a different name. Nobody knows who they are, who they were, what they did, right? And they're just accumulating Zebec at the low prices. So
I agree. Like none of them are showing their face.
yeah, you
So
don't know who they are. Yeah, you can take their word for something. You don't even know what they look like, what their first name is. Like, really?
let's continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I also want to think about like the way that the tokens are acquired, etc. So why currently are the tokens acquired through the program currently held with Uphold?
So our
The big
partnership with
question.
Uphold is something that went live about a year ago. And as part of that, we've had to move some of our wallets over to Uphold for treasury management. Now, we've been in talks with the Uphold team about putting out an attestation report, so that way we can have a clear, transparent way to communicate to the community about the balances in the stablecoin, sorry, in the buyback wallet.
Okay,
So that's
pause it
something
there.
that we're planning to roll out with Uphold this month.
Say that again.
I said pause it there. So literally one of the primary accusations is that Zebec runs off of a trust me bro concept, right? So Simon just put it out there. They're currently in talks with Uphold so that Uphold is releasing the updates on the buybacks and the tokens, not Zebec, right?
Right.
So we've now evolved to a point where this is being clarified and being presented by a third party company. So at what point does the misinformation, at this point it's misinformation and FUD, at what point do the people who are saying that stop and realize, man, I was wrong, right? I was saying this stuff and they just literally, the company just came out and destroyed my whole argument, right?
Right.
The problem is they can't, because pride and ego, they can't come out and say, man, I'm sorry, I was wrong, right? So they'll just find some other straw man argument.
Let's continue.
We're going to be having a spaces with Uphold Institutional in a couple of weeks. So let's just say we've been hearing the feedback from the community, and this is something that we're actively working on with Uphold to make sure that everything can be shown publicly to the community and they can see the amount in the buyback wallet.
Amazing. Okay, great. That's a great step in terms of like transparency and all of those things. I love that.
Beautiful.
How can the community then? This was the next big one, I think. How can the community have like a meaningful role in determining how these tokens are used in the future?
That's a great question. Now, as we've mentioned, in the past, we've done DAO votes at ZEBEC, and this is something that we're going to bring back to market to allow the community to vote in the direction of the buyback program.
Okay, cool. And another question, sorry, is how do you calculate how much ZBCN is associated with each transaction? Like beginning with payroll transactions, for example.
That is a great question, and I think it's something that we need to explain on a chain-by-chain basis. As ZBCN is currently an asset on Solana, but it's not native to all the other chains, even though our products have now been rebuilt and bridged on new chains. So on Solana Enterprise Payroll, 100% of the fees, which typically average about 25 basis points, they're required to be paid natively in ZBCN. Now on other chains, such as Stellar, 100% of the fees are also going towards ZBCN buybacks, but they're paid in the chain's native tokens or in stable coins, and then they're converted into ZBCN on Solana and put towards buybacks. So it's very important to understand that distinction. And our expansion strategy at ZEBEC has been a lot more successful than we initially had anticipated or that we could keep up with.
Oh,
and as a
wow.
result, we haven't been able to bridge, or we haven't made the decision on bridging ZBCN to all the chains that we support as the payment currency. But as we evaluate where volumes are and where enterprise adoption is happening across the chains, we will then consider bridging ZBCN to be a native payment token on these chains. But for now, 100% of fees are going towards ZBCN buybacks on other chains, and this has the same effect without having the risks of a bridge.
I just wanted to point out, I feel that it is important for people to understand and really let resonate what he just said, and the concept of the fact that the money they're using to buy back tokens and send them over to Uphold to be locked up and taken out of circulation forever. I think it is important to note that that money is their own personal, on a professional level, revenue. That's their money that they're using and burning and throwing away forever. So before anybody goes out there and starts saying, like, attacking the character of the company or how they operate, they're literally using their own revenue to do this. Right?
Indeed.
I
Indeed.
think that's important to point out.
And one thing, again, like I think that they're doing that's really cool is he's saying a little bit about how it translates. But another thing to realize from people for people is no matter what stablecoin people use, it's going to translate down to the ZBCN once the fees are assessed. So, you know, whether it's the digital dirham, whether it's USD1, whether it's USDC, when fees are assessed, it translates down into ZBCN.
Yep.
So let's continue.
Okay, got it. Really useful. I think that for me is a real education, because I don't understand those bits too, with too much kind of like, there are nuances to all of this kind of stuff, and that's a really, really helpful excellent explanation. I hope someone from the community clips that, because that's going to be really, really useful for others as well, I'm sure. You've previously mentioned that, and I hope you don't mind me challenging you a little bit here, Simon, but you've previously mentioned that like token burning could create complications for future exchange listings. So I just wondered again, if you wouldn't mind just like educating me a little bit. Why would burning ZBCN make listings more difficult?
Well, it's true that certain exchanges have had issues with token burning mechanisms built into them in the past. As when you think about it, it often breaks with their accounting and their ability to, tie their internal ledger to a chains report. And in some cases, it's a centralization and a securities red flag. So this is the reason why, some of the investors in the past voted against the proposal. Now, this is one of the reasons that the vote occurred. And I think looking forward, given that the market has changed and we've received a lot of the exchange listings we were hoping for, and we still have a few other ones still in the works, we're open to revisiting a vote, and it's something that we're planning to do by the end of the year.
Okay, great. And that's cool timeline as well. Thank you. Right. There's also been a question about that 2024.
So again, he says they're going to reconsider the issue about burns, and that vote will be at the end of the year.
Yeah, it'll be another DAO vote. And here's the thing, is that people are going to accuse them of, well, they hold most of the coins, or that's what they'll say, right? So they're manipulating the vote and blah, blah, blah. And let's be real about something here. That's true for any project that has a DAO. That's not a unique situation. Now, just because something is possible, again, I have to stress, doesn't mean that it is, in fact, a reality, right?
Indeed. Let's continue.
Decision not to proceed with burning. Who voted against the proposal, and what was the reasoning behind that decision? I don't know if you've maybe answered a little bit of that in the last question I did, but just curious, if you don't mind me and if you're able
I feel
to,
like he's
to answer
gaslighting.
Well, I think it's important to note that our holder base was completely different 2.5 years ago. I mean, we were not even on the ZBCN token back then, right? This was a prior version of the token. This was the ZBC token. The vast majority of our holders were actually our early backers and our VC investors. And at the time, as we mentioned, there were concerns around exchange listings, which at the time was super important for an early token like ZBC. We needed to get the exchange listings to increase our holder base and our liquidity and our volumes. And the suggestion at the time from our investors was to focus on revenue-based buybacks, which we now have done very successfully for the past 2 years. However, our investor profile has changed. The company has matured. A lot more retail holders are now holding the ZEBEC token, and not just the VC investors who were with us from the start. And given this change in ownership of the token, we're looking to reopen a vote later in the year for our holder base.
So what he's saying is, in the beginning, most of the tokens were held by VCs. So the VCs had to choose. They chose, right? So
yeah, and again, that was a long time ago. That was like he said, the holder base was completely different back then. They weren't even on the ZBCN token at that point in time. They weren't listed most places at that time. And also, wasn't Sam in charge back then too, not Simon?
that's correct.
Yeah, so I mean, so much is different now, but I digress.
We'll have to continue.
Amazing, and thank you. And I guess, unlike me, to be quite as challenging, and I'm really grateful that you kind of take that in good spirit, and I appreciate that you want to answer all of the questions possible for the community. So I'm really grateful for the way you've tackled that, Simon. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm happy that we're able to discuss these topics here in detail. And I think it's important to realize that a lot of our current holders have not been with the company from the start. I mean, we've been around for 5 years as a company. The tokens have been around for 4 years. And a lot has changed in that time, right? And today we gave people a little bit of a history lesson. We've also given them, a chance to participate going forward and understand, what really the direction the company that we want to take from here.
Amazing. I mean, from a personal perspective, I think today's discussion has really helped bring several parts of the ZEBEC story together. Sometimes things that are often viewed separately, in their own silos. And I think, first is the business itself, right? So crypto entering this period in which projects must increasingly demonstrate real products, real customers, real sources of revenue. And ZEBEC has clearly responded to that challenge by expanding beyond its original kind of proposition of payroll into now enterprise payments, cards, remittance, all of the things that we've been able to discuss. And then you talk about product execution, right? The next stage of development. It's not just going to be judged by announcements, but by the products as they become available, and who uses them and how effectively they connect to one another. And I think that's super important. And then the third, obviously, and this is one where I'm learning as we go here, and I'm really grateful for your time, but that's ZBCN. And the community clearly wants greater clarity around things like buybacks and fee utility and staking and token custody, governance, transparency. And so, I guess they're reasonable questions for people to have. And it's really important that that conversation continues alongside clearer reporting and real measurable progress. So thank you for stepping up and answering those things. And I guess thank you to everyone who submitted the questions. I'm really sorry I couldn't just ask them all, but I have to obviously be, sympathetic of Simon's time and try and put together questions that I think will have the most impact. And so, yeah, thanks to everyone who did submit questions, including those who, with their challenging ones. And I think these community spaces, they're really, really valuable, and they're most valuable when they address the subjects that people genuinely want to discuss. So thank you, Simon, for joining me and answering them directly. We'll continue to share updates as the products and integrations and token mechanisms discussed today progress. Thank you to everyone listening. And I guess we'll speak again soon. I don't know if you just want to have any final words, Simon, before I ask JJ to close us out.
Well, thank you, Ben, for being a great host as always. And thank you for the community, for your level of engagement and interest in what we're building at ZEBEC and how we can make ZEBEC grow from here.
Absolutely.
Now, one thing I want to play for you guys, so stick around before, once this ends, stick around.
Absolutely brilliant. JJ, over to you, my friend. Goodbye, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Okay, so two things I want to play for you guys. One of the extra networks that he may be talking about might be ADI. I'm wondering how I can share this here. You see, might have to share my entire screen here. Let me see if that's possible.
while you're doing that, I just wanted to kind of point out that I think it's very, very telling that not only did they address community questions, but like they addressed like every single one of the hard ones too. Like they
Indeed.
destroyed the FUD that was the misinformation that was being spread, right? So I think that was fantastic. I can see what you're sharing, and it's StreamYard right now is what you're sharing.
Yeah,
So,
just that's right now. Hold on 1 second. We'll get it here. I have it. Where did I put it here? So one of the networks that they can possibly work with, Simon said this in the exclusive interview that he gave me, guys. Definitely come over there if you guys want to see the whole thing. But I took a snippet from it, which we're going to play here once I can figure out where the hell I saved it. Okay, and well, instead, let's play something here from Charles Hoskinson, which I think has a lot of merit, and then I'll find the Simon thing while the Charles thing is playing. Let's play that right now. Let me know when you have it, Future.
yeah, you're good.
Okay.
We can't hear Charles though, man. We can't hear him talking. I think you have the sound muted or something.
No, let me see. No, the sound is not muted. Let me see. I think I need to press an additional button for that. Let me stop sharing. Okay, yeah, I need to press an additional button to have that happen. Okay, now it should be. Let's go back.
Go up on there.
There you go.
I'm going to ping Jer for it. So yeah, OWS is real cool. And we built this so that agents can have wallets, because once they have wallets, then they can trade and they can do other things. So Midnight City is our first touch point that we built for this. And we're adding a bunch of things. And Patrick has been a huge proponent of getting Cardano into X402. I believe Cardano Foundations joined the X402 Foundation. So we have payments protocol to pair with this. By 2030, the vast majority of cryptocurrency wallets will be primarily custodied by an agent. And that agent will have a probably operate in a trusted execution environment. It's called confidential compute. In fact, we work with, let me show you this. The Confidential Compute Consortium. So some of the largest companies in the world got together and they said, you know what, we need to have standards for how the hardware is going to work, the network is going to work to store valuable data. So, you know, if you take a look at the Confidential Compute Consortium, you can see AMD and Google, Huawei, Intel, Meta, Microsoft, NVIDIA. These are kind of big companies, right? And Shielded. Who the hell is Shielded? It's my company. That's the development company building Midnight. So we all got together with all these other big companies, and Near Protocol is right there because they're pretty smart too. And we've been thinking very carefully about how we're going to build out a framework, because by 2029, $50 billion a year of computation loads are going to be through confidential compute. So right now they're thinking, oh, I'm going to give the AI a bunch of stuff in Azure or Amazon, or one of these guys is going to operate on all those things. But long term, we're thinking, okay, well, the agent is going to run in this confidential compute cluster. It's going to have its own wallet. It's going to be spending your money. So how do I make sure that that's not stolen by the person hosting the agent? The same question of how do I not steal your data? So it has to be processed and safe at rest and in processing. So we've been thinking very holistically with a lot of big companies about how to put all these different things together. And the good news is the hardware is moving in this direction. Everything is getting trusted hardware. It's being built by the largest, most profitable companies in the world. And we can piggyback on the AI revolution. And that's going to add a new dimension to the cryptocurrency security thing. So instead of custodying on an exchange or a third-party custodian, you may be able to custody with an agent running an agentic hardware. And if you put the right cryptography inside of it, It's basically like a multimodal multi-sig. So pretty cool stuff. All right. So anyway, guys.
So right there, guys, and that's been everything I've been saying for like 6 or 7 months now, right? Like the wallets will be agents, and those agents will run on confidential compute. And like Charles said, there's 50 billion by 2029, 50 billion that's going to be running through this confidential compute, right? So now's the time, right?
Massive, brother. Well, listen, man, I have a podcast I have to get to with Jesse at KIR Finance. Got to get you over there for one of our conspiracy theory ones, buddy.
For sure, for sure, for sure.
So I got to go take care of that, man. This is big. I love what happened for me personally. Like I said, dropping 7 herbs and spices all over the FUD, Macho Man style. And, haters are going to find some other straw man argument. They got a case of the yeah buts. But, So, yeah. Anyway, brother, any final thoughts?
No, that's it, guys. Definitely catch the game show. The game show will be on tonight. I'll catch you guys later.
Yes, don't forget 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. And yes, God bless.
Peace, guys.